Have you noticed that the same situations keep repeating in your life over and over again? That you attract the same type of people, experience the same conflicts, feel the same frustrations, no matter how much you change jobs, cities, or partners? Today, you're going to discover the deepest truth about why this happens and how to transform it forever. Carl Jung, the most revolutionary psychologist of the 20th century, discovered something that will change the way you see reality. Your energy doesn't just reflect who you are, it literally attracts your destiny. And if you've made it this far, it's because part of you already knows it's time to break those invisible patterns that keep you trapped in the same emotional movie. I'm going to tell you something that perhaps no one has ever explained to you with this clarity. Every thought you have, every emotion you experience, every reaction you manifest is sending an energetic signal to the universe. And that signal acts like a magnet that attracts exactly the experiences, people, and circumstances that match that frequency. But here's the most shocking part. Most of these signals you're sending completely unconsciously. Over the next few minutes, you're going to understand why you've always been right when you said you felt like something bigger was managing your life. Something was managing it, your own unconscious energy. But today that changes because you're going to learn to consciously direct that force that has been directing you until now. Imagine for a moment that you're like a radio station. You're constantly transmitting a specific frequency to the world. If your internal frequency is tuned to fear, insecurity, and lack, you're going to attract situations that confirm exactly that. People who treat you badly, opportunities that slip away, relationships that make you feel empty. It's not coincidence, it's energetic causality. Jung discovered that what he called the collective unconscious functions like an invisible network that connects all human beings. And when your personal energy is unbalanced, you automatically tune into other unbalanced energies. It's as if there's an invisible magnetic law operating all the time. The insecure attract manipulators. Those who feel like victims attract victimizers. Those who vibrate in lack attract more lack. Have you ever wondered why that person you know always finds love while you keep attracting toxic relationships? Or why some individuals seem to have incredible luck with opportunities while others always struggle? The difference isn't in their external circumstances. It's in their internal energy, in the frequency they're transmitting without realizing it. But before you think this is some kind of magical thinking, let me explain the emotional science behind this. Jung understood that our emotions aren't just passing feelings, they're magnetic forces that literally shape our reality. When you live in a constant state of anxiety, your brain is programmed to seek and find threats. When you live in a state of gratitude and confidence, your mind is calibrated to detect opportunities and positive connections. Your emotional energy functions like a reality filter. If your filter is configured for negativity, you're only going to see and attract the negative. If your filter is configured for abundance and self-love, you're going to magnetize exactly that. And here's the key that's going to change everything for you. You can consciously change the configuration of that filter. The first great truth you need to understand is that your energy is constantly speaking for you, even when your mouth is closed. Jung explained this brilliantly. He said our unconscious communicates through what he called synchronicities, those apparently casual coincidences that are actually revealing the energetic pattern we're projecting. Have you noticed how some people enter a place and immediately change the entire atmosphere? They didn't say anything special. They didn't do anything dramatic. Simply their presence transformed the environment. That's pure energy in action. Their internal state is so aligned, so coherent, that it automatically elevates the frequency of everything around them. But it also works in reverse. You know those people who arrive and immediately you feel something turns off in the environment. Even though they smile, even though they say the right words, there's something in their energy that generates discomfort, tension, drama. Their inner world is in chaos, and that's reflected in everything they touch. Jung had a powerful phrase you need to engrave in your mind. Everything that irritates us about others can lead us to an understanding of ourselves. This means that the people who appear in your life, especially those who generate strong emotional reactions in you, are mirrors of aspects of your own energy that need to be healed or integrated. If you constantly attract controlling people, ask yourself where in your life you're giving away your power. If you always find dishonest people, examine where you're not being completely authentic with yourself. If you live surrounded by emotional drama, review what parts of your inner world are in conflict. Here's your first transformative exercise. For the next 3 days, every time someone irritates you or generates a strong emotional reaction, instead of judging that person, ask yourself, what aspect of myself is this situation reflecting? What is it teaching me about my own energy? Write the answers in a notebook. You're going to be surprised by what you discover, and if this content is already resonating with you, if you feel something is clicking inside you, give this video a like and subscribe to the channel, because what's coming next is going to completely revolutionize your way of relating to the world. Now let's go to the second fundamental truth you need to know. Your emotional energy has memory. Jung discovered that we carry within us what he called emotional complexes, energy patterns that formed in the past and continue operating in the present like automatic programs. Think of it this way. If as a child you learned that to receive love you had to be perfect, your adult energy will continue transmitting that frequency of "I'm not enough as I am." And guess what type of relationships you're going to attract? People who confirm exactly that belief, who make you feel like you have to constantly strive to deserve their affection. If you grew up in an environment where you had to fight for everything, where resources were scarce, your energy will continue vibrating at a frequency of lack. And no matter how much money you earn, no matter how much success you have, you'll keep attracting situations that confirm that internal scarcity. Because your unconscious is programmed to create externally what it feels internally. But here's what's fascinating. Jung also discovered that these patterns aren't your permanent destiny. They're simply programs that can be reprogrammed when you bring consciousness to what's happening in your inner world. The key lies in what he called making the unconscious conscious. Have you ever wondered why you keep attracting the same type of partner, even when you consciously know it's not what you want? It's because your emotional energy, which operates from the unconscious, is transmitting a different frequency than what your conscious mind desires. Your unconscious is programmed with patterns from the past that continue attracting familiar experiences, even if they're painful. It's as if you have 2 radio stations operating simultaneously inside you. The conscious station says, "I want a healthy relationship, abundance, peace." But the unconscious station is transmitting, "I don't deserve love, life is struggle, people are going to disappoint me." And guess which station has more magnetic power? The unconscious one, because it's loaded with years of emotional experiences. Jung understood that the only way to change these patterns is through what he called individuation, the process of making conscious the parts of ourselves that have been operating in the shadow. And when you illuminate those hidden aspects of your energy, you automatically change the frequency you're transmitting to the world. Here's an exercise that's going to accelerate this self-discovery process. Take a sheet of paper and divide it into 2 columns. In the first column, write all the negative patterns that repeat in your life. Toxic relationships, financial problems, work conflicts, health issues, whatever appears again and again. In the second column, next to each pattern, write what emotion or belief from your past could be generating that experience. For example, "I always attract people who abandon me," could connect with, "As a child, I felt I had to be perfect for my parents to love me." This exercise is deeply revealing because it helps you see how your emotional history is writing your present. And once you can see the pattern, you have the power to change it. And that's precisely what we'll talk about in the next point, because the third truth is even more powerful. Your current energy is creating your future at this very moment, not tomorrow, not next week, right now. Every thought you have, every emotion you experience, every reaction you manifest, is sending waves toward the future that are attracting the experiences you're going to live. Jung had a deep understanding of what he called synchronicity. those meaningful connections between your inner world and external events. He understood that when your internal energy is aligned with what you really desire, the universe begins to conspire to create the circumstances that make that reality possible. But here's the problem most people don't understand. You can't fake a different energy. You can't pretend you feel abundance when internally you live in lack. You can't simulate confidence when your internal dialogue is full of self-criticism. Authentic energy is the only one that has real magnetic power. This means that before trying to change your external reality, you need to do the internal work of healing and aligning your emotional world. And this work isn't optional if you really want to transform your life. It's the difference between someone who lives reactively, allowing circumstances to dictate their internal state, and someone who lives proactively, creating their reality from the inside out. Have you noticed that there are people who, no matter how difficult their situation, always seem to find a way out? The perfect opportunity always appears, the right person, the exact solution they needed. It's not luck, it's aligned energy. Their inner world is so clear, so focused on what they want to create, that they naturally attract the conditions to manifest it. And there's also the other extreme. People who, no matter how many opportunities they're presented with, always end up sabotaging themselves. They always find a way to turn success into failure, love into conflict, abundance into lack. Their internal energy is programmed for self-sabotage, and that's consistently reflected in their external reality. Jung understood that this process isn't mystical or esoteric. It's psychological and completely explainable. When your internal energy is aligned with what you desire to create, your perception changes. You begin to notice opportunities you didn't see before. You behave in ways that attract the right people. You make decisions that bring you closer to your goals instead of moving you away from them. But when your internal energy is in conflict with your conscious desires, exactly the opposite occurs. Your perception is biased toward the negative. You behave in ways that sabotage your own goals. You make decisions that confirm your fears instead of your dreams. Here's a powerful exercise to begin aligning your internal energy with what you really want to create. Every morning, before checking your phone or interacting with the external world, take 5 minutes to connect with the version of yourself who has already achieved what you desire. Don't just visualize the external circumstances, feel the internal energy of that person. How does someone who already has self-love feel? How does someone who already lives in abundance feel? How does someone who is already in a healthy relationship feel? Allow that energy to fill every cell of your body. Breathe with that frequency, move with that energy, and then go out into the world from that internal state. You're going to notice how your way of interacting with people changes, the opportunities you begin to perceive, the decisions you naturally make. Repeat this mantra. My internal energy is creating my external reality. I choose to consciously align with what I desire to experience. And this brings us to the fourth truth, which is where many people get trapped without knowing it. There exists something Jung called the shadow, those parts of ourselves we've rejected, denied, or repressed. And here's what most people don't understand. Your shadow is also transmitting energy. In fact, many times it's the strongest frequency you're sending because it's loaded with unresolved emotions. If you've been denying your anger, that repressed energy becomes a magnet for situations that are going to make you angry. If you've been rejecting your vulnerability, you're going to attract experiences that force you to confront exactly that. If you've been avoiding your personal power, you're going to magnetize circumstances where you feel powerless. Your shadow isn't your enemy. It's a part of your totality that's asking to be recognized and integrated, and until you make peace with these rejected aspects of yourself, they'll keep sabotaging your conscious energy and attracting exactly what you don't want to experience. Jung had a revealing phrase, "What you resist, persists." This means that everything you run from or deny about yourself becomes a magnetic force that will attract experiences to confront you with that reality. Have you noticed how people who most criticize certain behaviors in others end up attracting exactly those situations? The person who constantly criticizes infidelity ends up in relationships with unfaithful people. Those who harshly judge financial irresponsibility attract money problems. Those who reject emotional vulnerability live in superficial relationships. This happens because when you deny a part of your human nature, that energy doesn't disappear. It stays in your energetic field as an unconscious frequency that attracts experiences to force you to recognize what you've been avoiding. Shadow integration doesn't mean you have to express all your negative impulses. It means recognizing that these aspects exist within you, accepting them as part of your humanity, and then consciously choosing how you want to channel that energy. For example, if you've been denying your capacity for anger, the work isn't to explode with rage at everyone. It's to recognize that you have inner fire and learn to use it constructively to establish boundaries, defend yourself when necessary, and have the strength to create changes in your life. If you've been avoiding your vulnerability, the work isn't to become an emotional victim. It's to recognize that you have the capacity to feel deeply and use that sensitivity to create authentic connections and make decisions aligned with your heart. Here's a deep exercise to begin integrating your shadow. Think about the characteristics that most bother you about other people, those that generate an intense emotional reaction in you. Write them in a list. Now, for each of those characteristics, honestly ask yourself, where in my life have I demonstrated this behavior? In what situations have I been exactly like this? And then, what positive part of this characteristic am I denying in myself? For example, if arrogance in others really bothers you, maybe you're denying your own personal power or your capacity to recognize your achievements. If excessive sensitivity irritates you, perhaps you're repressing your own emotional vulnerability. This exercise can be uncomfortable, but it's liberating. When you stop projecting your denied aspects onto others and recognize them as part of your own humanity, you automatically change the energetic frequency you're transmitting. You become more complete, more authentic, and therefore more magnetic to experiences aligned with your total truth. And now, let's go to the fifth and most powerful truth of all. When you really understand and apply everything we've talked about, when you consciously align your internal energy with what you desire to create, when you integrate your shadow and heal your unconscious patterns, something extraordinary begins to happen. You become what Jung called a complete individual, someone who is no longer being lived by unconscious forces, but is consciously living from their authentic center. And when this occurs, your energy becomes magnetic in a completely different way. You're no longer attracting experiences from lack, fear, or unresolved patterns. You're creating from fullness, from self-love, from a deep connection with your true essence. People begin to feel different around you. There's something in your presence that elevates, that inspires, that calms. Not because you're pretending or playing a role, but because you've done the internal work of becoming who you really are. And that authenticity is irresistibly attractive. Jung understood that when a person completes their individuation process, they don't just transform their own life, but become a catalyst for the transformation of others. Your aligned energy gives others permission to find their own alignment. Your authenticity inspires authenticity. Your self-love models what's possible. But here's the final secret that will change everything for you. This process of energetic transformation isn't something you do once and it's done. It's a lifestyle, it's a daily practice of consciousness, of alignment, of conscious choice about the frequency you want to transmit to the world. Every day you wake up with an opportunity to choose your energy. Every interaction is a chance to practice coherence between your inner world and your external expression. Every challenge is an invitation to maintain your center, no matter what's happening around you. Have you noticed that people who have really transformed their lives aren't those who never face problems? They're those who have learned to maintain their energy stable and aligned no matter the external circumstances. They've developed what Jung called a strong ego in service of the self, a conscious personality that's connected to their deepest essence. When you live from this place, crises become opportunities for growth. Conflicts transform into invitations to greater understanding. Losses reveal themselves as spaces for something better to enter, not because you're a special person, but because you've trained your energy to seek and create constructive meaning in any experience. Here's your final transformation practice. Every night before sleeping, review your day energetically. Ask yourself, in what moments today was I aligned with my true energy? In what moments did I react from old patterns? What can I adjust tomorrow to be more in coherence with myself? And every morning, before beginning your day, establish your energetic intention. Not just what you want to achieve externally, but how you want to feel internally. What frequency you want to transmit. What type of energy you want to contribute to each situation. If you've made it this far, if all this is resonating in the deepest part of your being, it's because you already knew these truths on some level. Your soul already understood that you had the power to direct your energy and consciously create your reality. You just needed someone to remind you of what you already knew. Jung said, "We don't become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious." And that's exactly what you've been doing during these minutes. Bringing light to the unconscious patterns that have been directing your life from the shadows. Your energy is your superpower. Your internal frequency is your magic wand. Your capacity to consciously choose your emotional state is your most valuable gift. And now that you know it, now that you understand it not just intellectually but in every cell of your being, your life will never be the same again. Because when you change your energy, you change your destiny. When you transform your inner world, you automatically transform your external reality. And when you become the person you already are in your deepest essence, the entire universe conspires to support that truth. But this doesn't end here. This is just the beginning of your journey of conscious, energetic transformation, and I want you to be part of a community of people who are committed to this process of conscious growth. If this video has impacted you, if you feel something fundamental has changed in your understanding of how life works, write in the comments, "I choose my energy." Also, share which of these 5 truths impacted you most and how you're going to begin applying it in your life. Subscribe to this channel and activate the notification bell, because every week we're exploring the deepest secrets of human psychology so you can live from your maximum potential. Share this video with someone you know needs to hear this message. Because when you share wisdom, you multiply its power. Your energy is creating your destiny at this very moment. The question is, are you going to continue being lived by unconscious forces, or are you going to take conscious control of your creative power? The decision is yours. Your life is waiting.